They tell you it's over, not directly, not with words, but you feel it in the silence. They say it in the way they stop looking at you when you walk in the room, in the way your ideas are brushed aside like dust on the table, in the way younger men speak over you, not with malice, but with ignorance, like your time has passed, like you had your chance, and now you're just here, watching the world spin without you. You feel it in your body, slower than before, a little stiffer, a little quieter. You feel it in the way people offer you help when you didn't ask. You feel it when no one expects greatness from you anymore, like the fire in you has gone out. But here's what they don't know. The fire didn't go out. It just went silent. And now it burns deeper than ever before. They think because you don't shout, you have nothing to say. Because you don't run, you have nowhere to go. Because you're older, you're weaker. But the truth is the opposite. You are not too old. You are just too deep for shallow people to understand. You are not slow. You are deliberate. You are not finished. You are finally free from the noise, because you've seen enough to know what matters, and more importantly, what doesn't. You've been betrayed. You've been forgotten. You've lost things that almost broke you, but you're still standing. And that makes you more dangerous than ever before. This world is loud. Everyone's chasing attention, shouting opinions, craving approval. But a man like you, you've outgrown that game. You walk alone, not because you're unloved, but because peace has become more important than popularity. They don't see your value because they forgot what real strength looks like. It's not in flexing muscles. It's not in loud words or fast cars. It's in presence, in knowing, in clarity. And that's what makes you dangerous. Because in a world full of ego, confusion, and chaos, an old man with stillness in his eyes and fire in his chest can shake the earth without raising his voice. So no, it's not over. You're not past your prime. You're stepping into your purpose, not to chase what you've lost, but to become what you were always meant to be. A man who doesn't follow the world, but leaves a path for others to walk. Silence is your weapon. There was a time when you believed that being heard was everything. You believed that if you didn't speak up first, you'd be forgotten. You believed that silence made you invisible, that quietness meant weakness. So you filled every space with noise. You rushed to respond. You jumped into every debate. You raised your voice to make sure no one missed your point. You needed people to understand you, to agree with you, to respect you. Because back then, you thought attention was respect. You thought if people looked at you, listened to you, reacted to you, that meant you mattered. But now you've lived long enough to know that noise is cheap. Anyone can talk, anyone can argue, anyone can shout. But not everyone can stay calm. Not everyone can sit in the middle of chaos and say nothing. Not everyone can watch a storm build and still remain still inside. That's what makes you different now. You've lost things, people, battles, time, energy, and it taught you what truly matters. You've spoken when it made things worse. You've reacted when silence would have saved you. You've wasted time trying to convince people who were never willing to listen. And somewhere along the way, you realized peace is more valuable than being right. Stillness is more powerful than shouting. Now, you don't need to say much to make your presence felt. You don't need to prove yourself in every room. You don't need to correct every wrong opinion, defend every decision, or fight every battle. Because you've learned that real strength isn't loud. Real strength doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't react to everything that moves. Real strength is disciplined. It's measured. It's silent. And silence, when it comes from a place of clarity, is more powerful than any speech. You can walk into a room now and say nothing, and still shift the energy, because people feel what's inside you. They sense the stillness. They recognize the weight you carry, not in your words, but in your presence. And when you do speak, people stop and listen because they know if you're speaking, it must matter. Your words don't come out of impulse anymore. They come from experience, from reflection, from wisdom. That's what they don't understand about silence. They think it means you've given up, but they don't realize you've simply stopped wasting your fire. You don't need to explain yourself to those who aren't listening. You don't need to defend yourself to those who already made up their minds. You don't need to win every conversation. What you've gained is far greater. Control over yourself, freedom from drama, peace in your soul. Because silence is not empty, it's full of power. It's full of decisions you didn't speak about. It's full of boundaries you didn't announce. It's full of battles you chose not to fight, not because you couldn't win, but because you knew it wasn't worth it. Now you let people say what they want. You let them think what they want. You let the world spin fast while you move slow. Because you're not here to be loud, you're here to be solid. You've become like the old lion, not because you lost your strength, but because now you know when to use it. He doesn't need to prove he's king. He knows he is. So he watches and he waits. And when he moves, it's not for show, it's for impact. You are that lion now. Let others chase fame, followers, likes and arguments. Let them get loud trying to prove themselves. Let them burn out fighting battles that don't matter. You don't move for noise, you move for purpose. And when you sit in silence, you're not hiding, you're listening, you're thinking, you're watching. And that stillness, is the mark of a man who's done trying to impress the world and has finally mastered himself. Silence isn't what happens when you give up. Silence is what happens when you rise above. So keep your calm, keep your focus, keep your peace, because in a world full of noise, your silence is your greatest weapon. And now you know how to use it. You don't chase, you attract. There was a time when you ran after people. You wanted to be accepted. You wanted to be seen. You wanted love so badly that you forgot to love yourself first. You changed your tone to please. You shrank yourself to fit in. You put on masks, smiled when it hurt, and bent so far you nearly broke. You thought chasing would bring closeness. You thought if you just did more, gave more, tried harder, someone would stay. But you've learned something priceless now. Real power is quiet. Real love doesn't need chasing. Now you don't run after people who walk away. You don't beg to be understood. You don't lower your standards just to be noticed. You don't apologize for being yourself anymore. Because now you stand still like a mountain, gray hair, lines on your face, scars on your heart. And all of it is beautiful. Every wrinkle tells a story. Every scar is proof you healed. Every gray strand is earned wisdom. You no longer need loud approval or empty compliments. Why? Because you've made peace with yourself. You know what you bring. You know who you are. And most importantly, you don't need anyone else to tell you that you matter. That's what makes you attractive now. Not because you're trying, but because you've stopped trying. You've stopped faking confidence and started living it. You've stopped chasing women who don't see you and started becoming the man who sees himself. And here's the irony. The moment you stop trying to impress is the moment you begin to attract. But not just anyone. Not the ones who only want your attention. Not the ones who are drawn to status or looks or surface games. You attract people who feel your energy before you even speak. People who see your quiet strength. People who are drawn to your calm, your clarity, your wholeness. You don't chase anymore because you finally understand this truth. A man who knows his worth never has to beg to be valued. So stop looking outward. Stop scrolling for someone to complete you. Stop molding yourself to be chosen. Stand as you are, firm, clear, whole, and let the right ones find you. You don't attract with noise, you attract with peace. And peace only comes when you're done running. Discipline makes you dangerous again. They told you discipline was for the young, that routines, goals, and growth are a young man's game, that after a certain age, the fire fades, and you should just slow down, relax, and let life pass gently. But they're wrong, because discipline has nothing to do with youth, and everything to do with self-respect. Forget what they say. Your body is not done. Your muscles may be slower, but they remember. Your joints may ache, but they still move. Your breath may be heavy, but it's still yours to control. So get up, move, breathe deep, stretch, walk, lift, push. Not to rewind the clock, but to sharpen your edge. Not to impress anyone, but to honor the man who's still alive inside you. When you eat, eat with purpose. Feed your strength, not your cravings. When you sleep, sleep like a warrior, not hiding from life, but recovering for the next battle. Discipline is not about pain, it's about dignity. You don't have to do what the young men do. You're not here to follow trends or chase performance. You're here to master yourself. Because a man who controls his day, who wakes with intention, who moves with clarity, who chooses his fuel, who protects his energy, becomes dangerous again, not to others, but to doubt, to laziness, to weakness, to anything that tries to steal his power. Most men let time break them, but not you. You use time as your sharpening stone. You get better with age because you choose to. And here's the truth. Discipline doesn't make life harder. It makes life clearer. It gives you rhythm, focus, strength, peace. It's the structure your soul has been craving. And the best part, you don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things, consistently. Walk every morning, lift something heavy, stretch your body, clear your mind, protect your sleep. Say no to what weakens you. Say yes to what makes you solid. That's it. Because in the end, the man who builds discipline builds himself. And the world doesn't need more loud, chaotic men. It needs men who walk with stillness and strength. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about becoming dangerous again, on purpose. Stop apologizing for being a man. Somewhere along the way, they told you to tone it down, to be less direct, less firm, less certain. They told you masculinity was dangerous, that your presence made people uncomfortable, that your strength was a problem, that your voice was too loud, your walk too proud, your standards too high. And slowly, you started to shrink, not physically, but inside. You second-guessed yourself. You softened your tone. You avoided eye contact. You apologized for things that never needed an apology. But here's the truth, and it's time someone said it. You don't need to shrink anymore. You don't need to apologize for being a man. Not now, not ever. You've been through too much to start doubting your own nature. You've survived storms, not of bullets, but of heartbreak. You've lost people, jobs, health, pride, and still stood back up. You've walked through your own private wars, and that counts for something. You've earned your voice, you've earned your strength, you've earned your place, and you don't need anyone's permission to take up space. You're not too much. You're finally enough, and if others can't handle it, let them adjust, because your calm is not a threat. Your focus is not a problem. Your boundaries are not toxic. They are the fence that protects your peace. So stop acting soft just to keep the peace. Stop lowering your voice to avoid discomfort. Stop walking on eggshells just to be accepted. You are a man, and that doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're strong, flawed, grounded, growing. It means you lead with honor. You speak with clarity. You protect what matters. You stand your ground, and you hold the line. You don't need to yell. You don't need to threaten. You don't need to prove. You just need to walk like someone who's seen hell and didn't flinch. Speak slow. Stand tall. Hold eye contact. Don't shift your weight to make others feel safe. Let them feel your presence. Let them see your discipline. Let them hear your truth, even if it shakes them. You were not born to blend in. You were born to lead, with quiet strength. So stop apologizing. Start living. The world doesn't need less masculinity. It needs better men who own their masculinity without fear. Be one of them. Let the world adjust to you now. Legacy starts today. One day your voice will go silent. Your footsteps will fade. Your name will be spoken in past tense. That's the truth no man can avoid. But here's the other truth. You don't have to be immortal to be remembered. You just have to live with meaning. Because you won't live forever, but your impact can. The way you carry yourself, the lessons you share, the lives you touch quietly without needing credit. That's your legacy. Not the job title they put on your email, not the car you drove, not how many zeros were in your bank account. That all fades, but people will remember how you made them feel when they were hurting, the way you stood tall when everyone else crumbled, the strength in your silence when others were shouting, the guidance you gave when no one asked you to, the way you treated those who could do nothing for you. That is legacy. So don't wait until your final days to become the man you were meant to be. Don't wait for permission to lead. Don't wait until it's convenient to care. Start now. Start today. Speak with purpose. Act with integrity. Stand with honor, even when no one's watching. Because someone is watching. The younger men, the sons, the neighbors, the ones who don't know how to carry their weight yet. They are looking for a blueprint, a guide, a man who doesn't just talk about strength, but lives it. So show them, with your discipline, with your patience, with your calm under pressure, with the way you love fiercely but wisely, with the way you protect what matters, quietly and without apology. Legacy is not what you leave behind when you die. It's what you build while you're still alive. Start living like someone will quote your life one day. Be the man they name when someone asks, who showed you how to be strong? Who taught you how to be calm in chaos? Who made you believe you could become more? Let the answer be you. You're not done. You're not fading. You're just stepping into your final form, where every word counts, every choice matters, and every day becomes a chapter in the story you leave behind. Start writing that story. Today. Final message. They call it a decline. They say you're fading, that you're on your way out, that you're in the background now, watching, not doing, waiting, not building, existing, not living. But they couldn't be more wrong, because you're not in your decline, you're in your final form. Sharper than ever, because pain shaped you. Quieter than before, because noise never gave you peace. Stronger, not in body, but in will. Wiser, because you failed enough to learn what truly matters. You don't chase crowds anymore. You don't beg for attention. You don't run just to keep up. Let the young chase the spotlight. Let them fight for applause, for approval, for noise. You walk slowly now, not because you're weak, but because you carry weight. Your words carry weight. Your presence carries history. Your silence carries judgment, patience, and experience. And when you speak, they listen, not because you speak loudly, but because you speak with truth. You've earned that silence. You've earned that stillness. You've earned the right to be heard, even when you say nothing at all. You've been overlooked long enough, dismissed long enough, ignored long enough. Now, you show up without needing to prove anything. Because men like you don't need permission to matter. You don't need approval to lead. You don't need to shout to be powerful. Your calm is your power. Your discipline is your edge. Your presence is your legacy in motion. So if something deep in your soul was stirred by this message, if this reminded you of the strength you buried but never lost, if this reminded you that your time is not behind you but right now, then type it below. Type, "I'm not finished." Let the world hear the voice of men who refuse to disappear quietly. Let them feel the roar of calm, grounded, unshakable men. We don't need more noise. We need more men with purpose, men who walk with weight, men who speak with wisdom, men who live with quiet, relentless fire. If you're ready to step into that, subscribe, not for hype, but for honor. Because Stoicism doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. It doesn't make you less emotional, it makes you unbreakable. And in a world of reaction and chaos, a calm man is a rare and powerful force.